All right, welcome back. Now we'll be speaking more on broader issues on the state of the nation. I've been joined now by policy analyst and security expert, a security intelligence expert, Mr. Yahuza Getso. He joins me now to do justice to these issues. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Amadin. Good afternoon, viewers.
It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's start with an issue on security, which is particularly your field, before we move over to others. Just yesterday, there was a raid in Niger State, very close to the capital here, where a suspect engaged in gunfight with security operatives. Now, what I call it the interesting or noteworthy aspect of this is that when the raid occurred, about 150 AK-47 rifles and about 3,000 live ammunition, as well as explosives, rocket launcher, and anti-aircraft rifle were recovered from the house. What does this say about the fight against insecurity and the monster that the operatives are fighting?
Well, first of all, let me start by commending the operative of the security and the intelligence team that have been monitoring, was able to put a monitoring strategy to have harness the information and be able to kind of swing into action by going into operation. It is really commendable effort, and they deserve a clap from all Nigerians, not only the state government or the Niger state or the community of Mina where it happens, or the area where it happens. They have really done a very good job, and I really commend them, and it's quite encouraging. And this is one of the reasons why I keep saying that the security challenges BW in the nation is something that can be managed if we are serious, if we are sincere, if we are honest, and if we will be really working towards the realistic measures, putting the necessary measures, and also colluding, collaborating, partnering, and corroborating and collaborating with the immediate neighborhood. And this is one of the reasons why I keep saying that, and that all the criminals, wherever they are, is known. Whoever they are is known and can easily be fished out and can be dealt with. If not because of the commitment, the dedication, honesty, sincerity, focus, vision and mission, and the envisioned strategy put in place by the intelligence and the operational strategy which was used, the guy could have been also apprehended. And I want to reassure the states, the nation, especially the security arena, the security cycle, the security architecture, the security personnel and the security leadership, as well as the government at all levels. The useful tool of the government, that is the federal government and the state government, and the useless part of the government in Nigeria, that is the local government. Why I call it useless is because it has been useless by the system. It is no longer functioning. Local government administration is no longer functioning.
Autonomy?
Yes, the autonomy, and even the most of them, they are doing errands. They are just being served as an errand to the governors. So governors have tightened them down, making it difficult for them to kind of deliver as expected their mandate. We are not discussing that. Sometimes maybe we can discuss that. And if at all these functions will come back and work in accordance with the provision of the Constitution, the federal, the state, and the local government, and to have a synergy, a kind of synchronizing system between the operative of the security operatives and the community leaders, the philanthropists, and even the shop owners. All these informations can be found. I'm sure this information was not found by, it must be a kind of a message, send intelligence information provided by one of the community members or some of the community members collectively. A lot of people, not only in Niger, not only in Mina, almost every part of the country, we don't have a system checkmating the criminal activities whereby everybody can now have money and earn money and access money. So nobody asks question, where do you get the money? How do you get the money? And So somebody can come to any part of Abuja, any part of Mina, any part of Silaja, any part of Kano, Sokoto, Borno, Enugu. Once he or she have money, we can come and buy a house, restructure the house, and the person will be intermingling with people around, but the community leadership may never, or even by extension, the security operatives around the area should have kind of worked towards trying to one, get the profile of the person, 2, know his business, 3, know his next of kins in case of anything happened, 4, even supposed to have, if he or she have a vehicles, all those vehicles supposed to be, there should be a provision of a registration mechanism whereby all your vehicles, motorcycles, cars, whatever, should be registered accordingly, so that information can be available at the ward head, at the community head, ward head, village head, as well as even the political parties. The head of polling units of all the parties supposed to have those information for their membership, so that can be extracted. That will help in managing and harnessing. So it is really commendable. I'm not surprised for the number of rifles found in the house. I'm not surprised that anti-aircraft was found in the house. I'm not surprised that the guy engaged the security for some time before he used a rocket launcher to hit his wall, and then was able to escape. Of course, probably they have not had a very good team, and the number of the personnel. They could have even still apprehended him, right, because they could have cordoned the entire area. Yeah, but so he wouldn't have find it easy to have escaped. But so the anti-aircraft is available. There are many around Niger State. All right,
Mr. Getso, the issue now is Niger State borders the Federal Capital Territory.
Yes,
it's actually kilometers away. When you say that you were not surprised to find all of that there, isn't it a bit worrying that this close to the capital of the country, that such level of ammunition, such level of firepower exists? Is it not worrying to the security status of the nation?
Well, how can it be worrying? It's not supposed to be worrying for so many reasons. Because the government have not set to its responsibility to do the needful. Let me tell you, in 2016 and 2017 and 2018, I was able to provide such information just somewhere around Gwagwalada here. But the information I provided was neglected. And I want to tell you that somewhere around areas of Abaji, I will not mention the specific locations, and somewhere around areas around Karshi, in between Karshi and Abaji, and somewhere many other part of some part of the Nasarawa state in Karo, Yenya, Maraba, and other those places, there are existing criminals who are in business, who are in disguising, operating a number of businesses, but they have access to all these armed influxing. And at the same time, also, if you look at the there were a time I shout, and I may provide many intelligence information about this Sabamusi, Diku, and Lambata, which are all neighborhood, including Salaja. This Salaja. There was a time one gun runner that I was able to provide information about him. I know I commend the security because they were able to apprehend him later. But notwithstanding, the issues around inadequate personnel is really hammering and will continue to hammer on the FCT. Look at the situation, even the critical situation that we have in the FCT. The divisional police station we have in Kubwa, the divisional police station or the outpost you have here in Katampi. If there is anything within 3-kilometer radius, the 2 policemen that used to man the area cannot manage it. So what of, you're supposed to have operational team, you're supposed to have administration team, you're supposed to have intelligence team, you're supposed to have a kind of tracking and monitoring team, but you don't have the adequate personnel. So this issue of inadequate issue of understaffing is really affecting the performance of our security. If you cannot commend the security personnel in Nigeria, you cannot if you cannot commend them, you cannot say that they are underperforming, because they are operating they are doing their work under a very difficult situation. One, the work of every 500 policemen is being carried out by one policeman in Nigeria. So how do you expect them to do it right? The work of every 200 army is being done by one soldier. The work of 20 colonel, one colonel is handling. The work of maybe 30 major general, one general is doing it. So you don't have adequate personnel. And at the same time, the system, the operating system, have its own laxity, whereby many of the personnel are not being charged or being held responsible and accountable for certain things that happen there within their domain. When I say their domain of their responsibility, domain of territorial geography of their own responsibility. We always hear that a promotion is being made to police officers, to rank and file, to DSS officers, to rank and file, to army soldier men and officers of the Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Navy, and alike. But are we checkmating them through doing the promotion based on performance? Or is it just based on that the fact that you have 4 or 5 years, you are due for promotion, then you will have all the papers filled, then you are promoted from one rank to another? That will never help the country until and unless we start charging them accountable and responsible. That if you are a divisional police officer, or if you are a CRO, or if you are a DCO, or whatever responsibility you hold, or if you are a unit commander of a given environment, given territory, given domain, if anything happens, that will affect your promotion. So they will be checkmate and they will be doing well. And there are a number of allegations and challenges from the communities where all these security personnel are operating: the civil defense, the DSS, the immigration, the Federal Road Safety Corps, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, that a number of issues are being reported, especially when you look at the banditry and all these armed influx. There are a lot of intelligence that have been provided, but the issue, they remained dormant. They always say that we are waiting to have instruction from the top. So yet, I don't understand really what is being referred at that top. When you talk at the senior military officers, when you talk at the senior management of the security agencies, operatives, all they will tell you is we have provided all necessary things for them to operate. But look at what happened recently, about 2-3 days at Yahuza in Katsina State. Even though that's supposed to be a kind of a commendation to the governor of Katsina State, Malam Duka Umar Rada, and his security watch corps that he recently launched, because they were able to go and test their capacity and test the lemon and test the sugar by going into the areas where the criminals, the bandits are, the kidnappers and so on. So as a result of what they have done, they were able to hammer on the criminals, and they were able to kind of kill many of them, destroy many of their structures. They remobilized themselves from Zamfara and other states. They came together and they launched attack at Musa, even though it is as a result of the confidence and the quality of the training being offered to the community watch that works together with the security operatives available in Musa. They were able to kind of to make the operation of the bandits felt. So what's really come out from the operation in Niger is a signal, and it's an indicator that if necessary tools and staffing is improved, the personnel, Nigerian personnel, are really highly committed. They are very agile, they are very dedicated, they have all the enthusiasm, and they have the skills and knowledge, and they are ready to do the job. And I have said it, the chief of defense staff and the chief of army staff, the chief of air staff, and all the security heads, I have made assertions here on this table when they were appointed that I know most of them, they are going to deliver as expected, but only if enabling environment is provided. So, and this is a testimony, and many other operations they carried out around Kaduna, Bauchi, Plateau, and other places. It's a testimony, right. But they have been understaffed. So if we are serious And if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to be serious, there is need to have 3 things in place for our security to succeed, for our personnel to do the needful, and for them to deliver their mandate. 1, there must be massive recruitment, there must be massive funding, and there must be monitoring of the recruitment process and the funding process and the funding management. Because what happens during Buhari administration is just like a cock. You know, when you have a cock, usually you will see her children at the front and she will be following at the back. So anything that will happen will start from the children before it comes to. So it's not being in defensive. So a lot of money have been poured and a lot of money have been squandered and wasted, and yet there is no result. Even though in the same way, we have to commend some of the Chief of Army Staff, Dambazo, Ehijirika, during the Goodluck Jonathan, what do you call him, Buratai, and Farouk. They have done so much also to the best they could. But the problem is there is inadequate personnel, and there is no monitoring strategy for funding and checkmating the utilization of the funds that have been gruesomely borrowed.
Right. I think that's fair enough. Truly, Nigeria's defense sector has seen a lot of influx of funds, especially in terms of budgetary allocation. And I also commend, or I agree with what you said. We always have to give the due props and flowers, as they call it, and commendation to the Nigerian Army. These are the people who are out there for us, to protect us while we are here. So moving on now, let's talk about the issue you spoke about in terms of spending so much and results. Let's talk about spending now. Recently, the National Assembly came under some level of ire from Nigerians, particularly because of the reports that they were set to get a number of SUVs, some bulletproof, I believe, for the Senate President and his deputy, and others, 2023 models for the majority of them, the bulk of them. So my question to you, or seeing the recent development where they defended this, the Toyota Land Cruiser, saying that even local government chairmen drive good cars. They also pointed out that they chose to go with foreign cars because when they made the calculations and cost analysis, the cost of fixing locally made cars due to bad Nigerian roads would be too much, and perhaps be more than simply buying these 2023 models. What's your take on this stance?
Well, I condemn in totality the position of the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Representatives in that regard. Because why can't they work towards fixing the roads? One, why can't they work towards encouraging the local production? And why we have the skills and the capability whereby a lot of Nigerian factories can also come up if an enabling environment could be created, can initiate even the bulletproof vehicles. We have the intellect. Go to the foreign nations and go to the producers in all parts of the world. You realize that in many of them, Nigerians are the ones leading the operations and the production in those companies. So if we have that, why can't we create an enabling environment? That shouldn't be an excuse. At a time when you don't have computers, even at our universities, most of our lecturers don't even have, most of our lecture halls don't have adequate seats. Primary schools are being rubbished. Many of the roofing are taken away. When most of these members of the state and national assembly, most especially, if they go back to where they come, why can't they use that money to buy something within the 50% of the amount and then use the 50% for the development? So as far as I'm concerned, it's really not acceptable excuses, and I condemn in totality. Now they don't have, these are not adequate reasons whereby they can provide this as an excuse. If you really means well, you can, if this money could be invested. I want to tell you, even the understaffing that I have talked about in the respect to the security personnel or security structures or security machineries can be fixed. modernization of the security can also be improvised, and that will help them in using the local cars or the other cars that are not as expensive at that amount. If you say you want to use the bulletproof, it means you are still telling Nigerians, telling the common man who walk under the sun and under the rain, to go to each and every terrain, to have elected you, to have voted you into the National Assembly or the Senate or wherever, that you are not ready to provide him with the required environment for him to be secured. Let me take us to Zamfara State. In part of Zamfara, and it is almost similar, the same thing. I'm just citing example with Zamfara. There is between Ankara, between Funtua to Gusau, that is Funtua in Katsina State to Gusau, you have over 25 checkpoints. But still the criminals are conducting their activities. And still those military and those police and those who are manning the checkpoint, they are collecting money. I travel sometimes not quite long, and I had an army officer, an army personnel, warn a driver never to give him 50 naira alone again. Next time, if you try giving me 50 naira, I will deal with you. So what message are we sending to Nigerians? And then what's really the National Assembly members saying during the recent conflicting dialogue between the bandits and the federal government, as well as the Zamfara state government, the conflicting issue that becomes so complex. We have had one of the military personnel advocating and urging and pleading with the criminals during the dialogue that you should stop operating between Zaria and Sokoto. Why? The simple justification he gave for his call was that the senior Nigerian citizens are flying that road. So
can I understand
that
who is speaking now? Who made this?
It's a military personnel.
Speaking to bandits?
Yes, speaking to bandits during one of the dialogues. Yes, of course, I had the clip. I can share it with you. And the clip is all over. And it's clearly stated, very clear, that you should stop operating, conducting any of your activity between Zaria and Sokoto, because the senior citizens are flying this road. So it means that you should go to the forest, you should go to the local communities to kill other ordinary Nigerians who voted for these senior citizens. Who are the senior citizens? They are the members of the National Assembly and the members of the Senate and other political appointees, ministers and the like. And this cannot take us anywhere.
Well, we can't say for sure, that the Nigerian security forces are complicit in that, or telling criminals where not to operate. But
well, we have it. I have it as an evidence, and almost every Nigerian have
look
it.
into it. Yeah.
Yes, of course, and I can present it to anybody who wants it. And it has been running around all the social media. If anybody want to see it, check on my WhatsApp, on my Facebook, check on my YouTube is there, check on my Instagram is there, check on my TikTok is there, check my name, Dr. Yahuza Getso. You will have this information that I am saying as an evidence. So anybody who want to verify it, go to my page. Any of my page, either Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and other social media outlets that I am using. Just click on put Dr. Yahuza Getso, and you will have that clip there. So it's something open. It's not something that is hidden.
Okay. All right. So that question really was about their defense, and you've broken it down. But is there any, would you say, any concerning bits about the fact that they acknowledge that Nigerian roads are capable of hurting the lifespan of a car? Is it weird that an arm of government should admit such?
Well, that is just kind of rubbishing. Slapping on Nigerians. Slapping back those who voted them into power. That is very, very wrong. Why can't they work? That money that they are saying can fix more than 60% of the Nigerian roads if it is well invested. If it can be invested very well into the economy of Nigeria, something will happen, and they can be safeguarded. And the large, how many are they? Are they all to 1.0 decimal of the total number of the population of Nigeria? So why can't they be thinking about the larger population rather than thinking about themselves and their children alike? I condemn it in totality, and I call on all Nigerians to come out and protest and condemn it in totality in a peaceful protest, not a chaotic protest. Let's Nigerians speak out their mind. Let's go back to the promises of good governance which they assured us, that if they are voted into power, they are going to make sure that there is good governance. Each and every one of them, when he was campaigning in his community, he never tells them that if you voted for me, I'm going to buy a house of 200 million in Abuja, I'm going to buy a car of 168 million or whatever. If at all they mentioned this during their campaign, none of them could have been voted into the National Assembly or into the Senate. So why can't they work based on their promises? And if you are talking about the dilapidated road situation, what have they been doing? More than 30% of them have been in the National Assembly in the last donkey years back. What effort have they made? What have they made? What strategy have they put in place that's made these roads to be fixed? And these roads are fixable. And if you can have all these road networks, issues fixed, even the issue of insecurity, the advantage that some of the criminals are taking on the road, they couldn't have been taking it. Nigerians could have conducted their activity freely, and they wouldn't have been given it as an excuse for them to say that they are going to buy these bulletproof cars. I will never be in support of that, and I condemn in totality, and I call on Nigerians to come out in mass for a peaceful protest to ensure that they didn't succeed in buying these cars. Because how when you have your daughter, your children, your mother, your father having been hungry, your wife cook a very delicious food, and then you tell your mother and your father and your son and your children and even the wife that cooked the food, I'm coming please, I have one hungry man at the gate, let me give him to eat his own portion, then if he remains something, then I can come back to you so that you can share it. It is just like that.
All right, that's fair enough. Wanting them to consider Nigerians and be considerate in how they spend public funds. These funds are coming from the taxes of Nigerians. So let's talk about now the ongoing or continuous, almost looking like an eternal struggle between the organized labor and the federal government. We saw that over early this month and late last month, there were talks back and forth, threats of strike and so on. And as usual, we saw they met, they agreed, they called off the strike and so on and so forth. Now they're saying now that the Labour Congress and the TUC, they're saying that a lot of the things contained in the Memorandum of Understanding have not been met, and that if they are not, by October 30, they would have to down tools. I'd like to get your thoughts on this constant to and fro. Do you think this will yield the desired results that the Labour Congress is looking for?
Well, I have to commend the Nigerian Labour Congress and the federal government under the leadership of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, having worked together to kind of come together to the drawing table to dialogue and look at the appropriate strategy towards kind of relieving Nigerians from the hardship as a result of the removal of the subsidy and other economic challenges that Nigerians are suffering from. It is really commendable. They have done well, because many well-meaning Nigerians have found it very, very difficult that if really labor could have gone on strike on that day, many people, more than 90% of Nigerians have to go out in the morning for them to get a breakfast, for their family to go to school. I know many of elites, even here in Abuja, who they have to work early hours in the morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. to go and carry passengers from one place to the other, so that they can have what they could buy bread, what they could buy milk, Milo, and to have the breakfast, or even what they could buy a mudu of rice or gari, so that they can have a breakfast together with their children and the family entirely, and then also provide transportation. So if this is happening in Abuja, what's then happening in other nooks and crannies of the country, where you have in the areas of maybe Enugu, Bayelsa, and Sokoto, Maiduguri, Katsina, and the alike? where the economy is so difficult, the situation is so harsh that many of the households are not getting one square meal. Even the square meal they are getting is, you cannot call it a meal. You will just call it packing something into the stomach so that the stomach will not be empty. There is nothing to call quality food. That is why many of us are looking malnourished. When you look at many of us, our faces are changing, even though I'm getting older by age. So it doesn't mean, but notwithstanding, when you look at even the younger ones, if you look at their changes in their faces, you can understand that something wrong is going on. So yes, if there are a number of outline agreements as mentioned by the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Simon Lalong, as well as the Secretary General of the Nigerian Labour Congress, who was also aired the review and the position, and also provided a feedback, systematic feedback to Nigerians that they have reached agreement that federal government is going to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G from the so period to so period. Why not? Let them go on strike if the federal government is not ready. Because what you expect when a father is going out and the child told him that, Daddy, if you go out, get me a sweet. And the father says, oh, is it, what type of sweet do you need? Is it biscuit, or you need the sweet itself, or you need the crackers, or whatever? And they have an agreement. When the father is back, and the child look at him and say, Daddy, where is my promise? He said, tomorrow I'll get it for you. Next tomorrow I'll get it for you. Definitely a day will come when the father will come back and the children will not welcome him. So it is just like that. So I think we should have a responsible government that could have respected, could be highly responsible enough to kind of fulfill at least, if not 100%, 75 to 80% of those agreements reached. And if government is not ready, yes, Labour, I encourage Labour to shut down the country. Let everybody have the pen. Because it is, look at the dollar now. Look at the dollar now. In the last 8-9 years, the dollar was 300 and something. 200 even. And now we are talking at 1,200 plus. Where are we heading off to? So when we look at it, I'm sure it's part of what Labour have discussed, even though I have not gone through details of item by item of what was agreed between the federal government and the Labour. But I am calling on both to respect agreement and do the needful. And if the federal government is being so irresponsible, not ready to respect the larger population of Nigerians, because we have not seen any minister suffering from, they are using, I want to tell you, yesterday I saw a convoy of one of the political appointees or one of the ministers. The number of vehicles he is going with, I want to tell you that on daily basis, assuming they will fly from let's say FF Estate here to Asokoro, definitely the minimum amount of money they will spend is nothing less than 700,000 naira in a day on the fuel. So if you are using all these cars and you are making all these expenses, why can't you come down to the round table and agree and reduce the cost of governance, reduce the number of convoy, which is very unnecessary. So many vehicles when you see minister moving around, so many vehicles when you see chief of army staff, chief of air staff, chief of naval staff, and other political appointees, the governors. You know, it's an embezzlement which I think should be discouraged and should be condemned in totality. So there is need to revisit those agreements and respect at least, if not 100%, at least 65 to 70 to 75%, so that Nigerians will have some level of confidence on the government. Because Nigeria, I want to tell President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, if nobody is telling him, that the largest population of Nigerians have lost confidence in totality in his administration. That's the situation.
Even with less than a year served?
Of course, because the takeoff was so nice in the early days, but the promises, inability to streamline, especially the economic hardship. Many people are dying not because probably it's due time for them to die, but rather because of blood pressure, tension everywhere. You cannot pay your school fees of your children. You cannot even feed. Many families will wake up in the morning without, they have a food stops, but the gas will finish, and the head of family have no access to where to get. You can see even the gas is rising now. It's on the rise. Even the charcoal is on the rise. So everything, if you buy anything in the market in the morning, if you go back in the afternoon, the price will differ. If you go back in the evening, the price will differ. Talk less of you buy it last week and you go next week, hey, you will be shocked.
All right, you know, it's the problem that Nigerians are really facing at the moment. But I think the question here really is, there seems to be quite a number of or a lot of criticism for Labour. People feel like they're not putting their foot down enough. You know, they are accused of, you know, different things about underhanded dealings, just because that they, after, you know, getting into talks, they decide that, well, at this point, let us trust the government. And then they realize that maybe things have not gone exactly as they planned. What would be your suggestion? Do you think Labour should, you know, go all out? All kinds of Labour, by the way, unions, I mean, even with ASU, people make the same complaints. Is it a situation where they should put their foot down and say, till you've done majority of these things, we won't even consider any, you know, coming back until you've done so? Would that be the best bet, or would that be detrimental to the average Nigerian who have to suffer the pull-out of these services?
Well, the fact of the matter is, Nigerians, many Nigerians are adult and are responsible. Many of the labor leaders are adult and are responsible and are educated. Many of those representatives, from the Minister of Labor and Productivity, Simon Lalong, to the messenger of the Minister of Labor and Productivity, or whosoever is involved as a stakeholder in that process, is responsible, we assumed. So what is expected? Nigerians shouldn't have total loss of confidence on the labor, because they have made some efforts, and it's not something that can be done by force. They can, we are not saying that they should carry arm and move around and shoot everybody. No, it still have to go through dialogue. So that dialogue, all I'm saying here is, there is need to have a kind of responsible government whereby it works towards fulfilling its promises. Like I mentioned, if not 100% agreement reached to be fulfilled, let's at least try 65 to 70% to 80%. So Nigerians should still give the labor, because that is the only machine, that is the only steps, that is the only ladder that we can, ordinary, average and ordinary Nigerians can use towards reaching the government. So if that is the case, then we need to support the labor. And at the same time, the government, we should learn our lessons from what is happening in many other parts of the countries. Look at what is happening with Palestine. Look at what is happening in Sudan. Look at what is happening in Southern Sudan. Look at what is happening in many other countries in many parts of the world. So we are coming out in mass to protest. May some hoodlums may take advantage to destroy and kill and burn and create chaos, which will not help. So since the labor is the only ladder and is the only operating system, I call on the labor, the leadership of the labor, to please remain firm and steadfast to ensure that they have used all necessary negotiation skills, all the bargaining ability, all the kind of diplomatic strategy, and all the dialogue steps they could in ensuring that these promises being reached with the federal government are respected and are implemented.
All right.
So that we can have a better Nigeria and a better tomorrow, so that we will not take ourselves into a more chaotic situation. But I'm sending a message to all the ministers of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and to the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and as a warning to the government, that Nigerians have lost confidence, more than 90% in that Nigerians entrusted in them. But they still have the chance, since they are still the same ministers, he is still the same president, the same vice president, the same NSA, the same DSS DG, the same NIA, the same whosoever system. The government is big. So all of them, Nigerians, if you don't know and if nobody is telling you, Nigerians in totality have lost trust and confidence in you, and you need to revert back to remobilize Nigerians to ensure that they entrusted you again by ensuring that you work based on promises that you have mobilized them to have voted you into power.
All right.
And then Nigeria will be better.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yahuza Getso. You've made a great point there, which is why a lot of people would like to put pressure on the government just to ensure that everything you said you will do, you will do. And thank you so much for coming despite your allergies and making the time for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Thank you, viewers, and goodbye. All
right. That's all we have today on the program. Do join us every weekday. The Polity reaches you live from Abuja, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Tomorrow, Messi Babajide will be handling the program. See you then. And bye for now. I am Amadin Ogbewe.